So, today we will be looking into another perspective in understanding the self, and that would be sociological. So, in this session, we will try to look into the selves as a product of society. But before that, let me first present to you tatlong kwento ng tatlong bata. Una, pag-usapan natin kung sino si Anna. On a cold winter day in 1938, a social worker walked quickly to the door of a rural Pennsylvania farmhouse. Investigating a case of possible child abuse, the social worker entered the home and soon discovered a 5-year-old girl hidden in a second-floor storage room. The child, whose name was Anna, was wedged or tied into an old chair, and her arms are also tied above her head so that she couldn't move. She had been born in 1932 to an unmarried and mentally impaired woman of 26. So yung nanay ni Anna ay mentally challenged. Because Anna was an illegitimate child, his grandfather was very angry. So what was the solution is what the grandfather did is to let Anna live in another house or in social welfare agencies. So, inalis si Anna sa bahay. Kaya lang, her mother could not afford to pay for her care. So, one day, Anna was returned to the house or to the grandfather. To lessen the grandfather's anger, Anna's mother kept Anna in the storage room and gave her just milk enough to let her live. There she stayed day after day, month after month, with almost no human contact for 5 long years. Learning of Anna's rescue, the sociologist Kingsley Davis immediately went to the child and he observed her. He found her with local officials at a county home, and what Davis observed was that Anna cannot laugh, Anna cannot speak, and even Anna cannot smile or didn't know how to smile. Anna was completely unresponsive, as if alone in an empty world. After her discovery, Anna received extensive medical attention. So just after 10 days, Kingsley Davis found Anna already smiling. Maybe that was the first time that Anna was able to smile. Over the next year, Anna made slow but steady progress. So nagkakaroon ng pagbabago kay Anna, showing more interest in other people and gradually learning to walk. After a year and a half, she could feed herself and play with toys. At the age of 8, her mental development was less than that of a 2-year-old. So, she's already 8 years old, pero ang kanyang mental capacity is only for 2 years old. Now, when she was already 10, he now began to use words and speak. Well, there is a theory or there is a possibility that Anna was also mentally challenged or maybe retarded because Anna's mother was mentally impaired. However, unfortunately, that was never found out because unfortunately and sadly, Anna died at the age of 10. So that's the first case, that's Anna. Who is now Isabel? Isabel is of the same case of Anna because she is also an illegitimate child, and her grandfather kept her and the mother in the attic. However, Isabel's mother is deaf and mute. So both of them, for a long time, live in the attic. They live in darkness and isolation. When Isabel was discovered, she couldn't speak and exhibits fear of stranger. So she was 6 years old then. After about 2 years of extensive work, because Isabel was given intervention, Isabel now can already use 2,000 words. And they say that Isabel relatively lived a normal life. For the third child, her name is Jeannie, but that is not really her real name. And Jeannie was discovered accidentally because her mother went to medical facilities to get medical attention for her cataract. Fortunately, or fortunately, yung napasukan na kwarto ng nanay ni Jeannie, mali. So, there were welfare officer there, and when they saw Jeannie, they assumed that Jeannie was autistic. So, they discovered that Jeannie cannot talk, and she was incontinent, meaning hindi nakakapigil ng pag-ihi, and salivated, naglalaway, at nagdudura. She had two only complete sets of teeth. That's a rare, may sakit na rare dental condition known as supernumeraris, and she could barely chew, hirap magnguya, hirap maglunok. He could not focus her eyes or extend her limbs. She only weighed 26 kilograms, and surprisingly, Jeannie was 13 years old already. So what was the story of Jeannie? Jeannie was physically abused by the father. So yung tatay niya, deranged nga strapped her into a handmade straitjacket and tied her to a chair in a silent room because the father was very angry. Every time that Jeannie would make a sound, the father would growl at her like a angry dog. Ayaw na ayaw ng ingay ng tatay ni Jeannie. So later on, pediatricians, psychologists, linguists, and other experts from the U.S. around U.S. examined and treated her, and they say that Jeannie was able to live also a long life. But there are also articles which shows that sabi daw si Jeannie may mga pagkakataon na nag-isolate pa rin sa tao. So, tatlong kwento yan. So, ngayon, tanong ko sa inyo, ano kaya ang inyong insights? What are your insights about the three stories presented? What do you think is the connection of these three children to our discussion? So what lessons or what insights can you gain in relation to the development of the self by looking or by analyzing the stories of Anna, Isabel, as well as Jeannie? So magpagmuni-munihan. Now, in this session or in this lesson, we would be talking about sociology. So it will be explaining the self in the context of sociology. So sociology is the systematic and scientific study of human behavior, of social group and society. Its basic insight is it asks the question who we are. It believes that who we are is affected by the groups we belong to. So it asks, why do people behave the way they do? Bakit ganito ang kilos ng tao? And why are their social institutions the way they are? So the social institution or the ages of socialization, sociology would look into the reason bakit ganito ang ating mga social institutions. Now, in understanding who we are, it is the contention of sociology that we are products of the society. Human behavior is shaped by group life. Ang ating kilos, ang ating pananaw, ang ating mga pagpapahalaga, ang ating mga paniniwala ay hinubog ng lipunan ng ating kinagagalawan at ng panahon kung saan tayo napapabilang. Kung tayo ay ipinanganak 20 years ago, iba ang ating kilos, iba ang ating pananaw. Kung tayo ipinanganak sa Japan, iba ang ating kultura, iba ang ating mga pagpapahalaga, iba ang ating mga paniniwala. So basically, sociology believes that the self is the product and created by society. So what is society then? What is socialization? What are these social groups or institutions which shaped us? Or what are these agents of socialization? But before that, we first also define what is society. So society is a group of people with common territory, interaction, and culture. Grupo ng tao, pangkat ng tao na nakatira sa isang lugar at may pare-parehong kultura at merong interaction. Ano naman ang socialization? Sabi dito, socialization is the lifelong process. Ibig sabihin, habang buhay, whereby individuals come to acquire a sense of their culture and develop their human potential. Ang socialization, ang paraan kung bakit nalalaman natin ang ating kultura at dito hinuhubog ang potential natin bilang isang tao. Hindi ito nagtatapos kapag ikaw ay malaki na o kapag ikaw ay professional na. Magtatapos lang ang socialization kapag wala na tayo, kapag patay na. Social experience is also the foundation of personality. A person's fairly consistent pattern of acting, thinking, and feeling. So that is the definition of personality. Personality should be stable. Ibig sabihin, hindi dapat bago-bagong personality. Kapag nabuo mo na ang personality mo, consistent yon. So kapag binalikan mo ang kwento ng tatlong bata, masasabi mong halos wala silang personality kasi halos wala talaga silang socialization. They were not exposed to other people. There was almost no human contact. There is no socialization with others. We build a personality by internalizing or taking into consideration our surroundings. But without social experiences, as shown in the case of the three children, without social experiences, personality hardly develops at all. Walang personality halos yung tatlong bata. Pero nung sila ay dinilabas na doon sa kanilang mga bahay, sa kanilang tahanan, paunti-unti, they were able to gain social experiences and they were able to be exposed to different social groups. So simply, socialization daw is the art of becoming. Yung pagiging tayo, ang pagiging tao natin, that's socialization. So what are these social institutions which influence who we are? These social institutions or these social groups or what we call the agents of socialization are the factors which actually influences our behavior. So in the development of the self, the agents of socializations are very, very important. Of course, the family. And in looking into these different social groups or social institutions, you can again go back to the story of the three children kasi halos wala sila nitong exposure. Peers, education, culture, or religion, economics, social media, or media. We will discuss some important concept related into the influences of media to the development of the self. So, sa ngayon, grabe ang hype sa Squid Game. Pero dapat maging mapanuri din tungkol sa sa series sa Netflix or nakikita kasi sa Facebook siya. And even children can access this. It's a very, very violent TV series. And yet, easily accessible to even young children. A 7-year-old and 8-year-old can access that TV series, which is very, very violent again. And also politics. So these are social groups which influences our behavior, which actually shaped who we are today or now. Who we are now is basically the product of this social institution or agents of socialization. So now I'll be presenting to you some perspective or theories of the self from the viewpoints of sociology. First is George Herbert Mead. So ayon kay Mead, the self emerges from social interaction. So our self is developed or we are created because of our social interaction. So 3, process. So the self is based on the perspective that the social self is based on the perspective that the self emerges from social interactions, such as, so these are social interactions include the process of observing and interacting with others, responding to others' opinion about oneself, internalizing the external opinion and internal feelings about oneself. So we observe, inoobserbahan mo, nakikipag-interact ka sa kapwa, sa ibang tao, at tumutugon ka sa ibang tao, sa kanilang opinion, tungkol sa sarili mo. And lastly, dinidibdib mo, ini-internalize mo ang mga opinion nila sa'yo. So that is that process according to me, diyan nabubuo ang tinatawag na social self. So of course, if that is the case, then therefore the self is not there from birth. Paano nagkakaroon ng sarili? It is developed over time from social experiences. So very sociological yung explanation ni Mid. This is an interesting point of view of me, that there is, all of us have the I and the me. So what is the I? Sabi yung I daw at me ay lagi yan nag-uusap. Lagi nag-uusap yan at lahat tayo ay meron yan. So yung I, ito yung bahagi ng ating sarili na spontaneous, an immediate response to people, person's individuality. It is the individual impulses that we have. So when we act in habitual ways, we are not typically self-conscious. We are engaged in action at non-reflective level, hindi masyadong pinagmuni-munihan ba. So halimbawa sa ngayon, maaring habang nakikinig kayo ng presentation na ito, ang iba sa inyo ay nakahiga. Maaring ang iba sa inyo ay walang t-shirt. Maaring ang iba sa inyo ay naglalaba habang nakikinig sa lesson na ito. Kumbaga, that's the I part of you, which in very spontaneous, very active, at the same time immediate response. Bakit halimbawa nakahiga? Kasi relax ka kapag nakahiga ka. Siguro mas okay ang nakahiga habang nakikinig kasi nakakapagpahinga diretso. O bakit walang t-shirt? Kasi nga ma'am, ang init. Kaya okay lang na makinig naman ako ng lecture kasi that's the spontaneous self mo. It is part of yourself which is not really, hindi ba, nasa non-reflective level. It's habitual. On the other hand, but if ever I would ask you, for example, if this is an online class or synchronous meeting, if I would ask you to open your camera during our lesson, definitely, tatayo ka, uupo ka, at aayusin mo ang sarili mo. Kung wala kang t-shirt, susuot ka ng t-shirt. Kung nakahiga ka, uupo ka. Kung may ginagawa ka, ititigil mo na yung ginagawa mo kasi sabi ni ma'am, i-open daw yung camera. Yan kasi naman ang dami. It is already the part of yourself which is the social self. Ito na yung bahagi ng sarili mo na alam mo na ang social expectations sa'yo. So because according to me, the me is what is learned in interaction with others, with the environment. Others, people, attitude, once internalizing the self, constitute the me. Kasi merong expectation na din, merong nagsasabi sa inyo na, uy, kaharap mo si ma'am, nagkaklase ka, kailangan presentable ka. Kasi kung sakali naman nasa Google Meet kayo pero kayong magbabarkada or kayong magkakaklase na wala si ma'am, paking hindi ka naman kikilos kung pareho na kung ako ay present. Because again, the me and the I are both present in us and we act according to the context kung ano yung hinihingi ng sitwasyon. Okay? So, like halimbawa, kung kakain ka sa Jollibee, kakain ka sa restaurant, kahit na ngalay na yung paa mo, malamang hindi mo naman itataas yung paa mo habang kumakain ka. Pero kung sa bahay, kahit Jollibee pa rin yung kinakain mo, iba ang magiging kilos mo pag nasa bahay ka. Pero pag halimbawa nasa lugar ka ng social context, ng social self mo, nangangailangan, ikikilos ka ayon sa konteksto kung nasaan ka o sa social setting. So that is the I and the me. Now, try to look at these three pictures because this would be also among the discussion or what we call the looking glass self. So from this picture, sinasabi dito, ang pangit mo, ang bobo mo. Sabi ng sarili niya, oo, bobo ako, pangit ako. Dito naman sa isang picture, payat siya, pero nung humarap siya sa salamin, ang nakikita niya ay ang taba-taba niya. Kasi yun ang tingin niya. Ganon din po itong pangatlo, sabi niya, they are laughing at my fat legs. So, obvious naman ang payat-payat ng babaeng to, pero ang tingin niya na siya ay pinagtatawanan dahil ang taba-taba ng kanyang mga legs. Yun ang kanyang perception. So, these images here is explained by Cooley because according to Cooley, the looking glass self is a social psychological concept created by Cooley in 1902. It states that a person's self grows out of society's interpersonal interaction and the perception of others. So, this term that Cooley coined refers to people shaping their identity based on the perception of others, which leads the people to reinforce other people's perspective on themselves. So, people shape themselves based on the opinion of others and perceive that opinion as to be true. So, ano ibig sabihin nito? Ang tingin ng tao, o ang tingin mo, tingin ko sa sarili ko, kung ayon kay Cooley ay nakabatay sa pag humakap ako sa salamin, makikita ko kung ano sa tingin ko ang sinasabi ng tao sa akin. So, kapag ang sinasabi sa akin ng tao, wow, ang galing naman ni ma'am. Maganda si ma'am. Ang mabubuong perception ko tungkol sa sarili ko ay kung anong sinasabi ng mga taong nakikita ko sa salamin. Because the salamin now reflects the others. The mirror now is the social groups which basically shape who am I. On the other hand, if I look at the mirror and I see in the mirror, ang pangit mo, hindi ka naman magaling, bobo ka. So, according to Cooley, that kind of perception, i-absorb ko. At ang delikado doon kasi paniniwalaan ko. So, according to Cooley again, there are basically three components of the looking glass self. First, we imagine how we must appear to others. Nakalagay na yan sa ating isip. We imagine how we must appear to others. Second, we imagine, kasi po ito imagine ito ang sa tingin natin, ang tingin nila sa atin. Parang nasa isip mo na eto ang tingin nila sa'yo, so dapat eto ang presentation mo sa kanila. So again, second, we imagine the judgment of the appearance. And third, we develop ourselves through the judgment of others. So, the self-perception now, if you're going to ask now the question, or if you're now going to answer the question of who am I, well, kung kay Cooley na perspective, who you are now is based on your perception kung paano ka dinidefine ng ibang tao. Kung dinidefine ka ng tao na magaling ka, may potential ka, magiging successful ka, kay Cooley, ina-absorb mo yan. So, we develop ourselves through the judgment of others. Pero kung mula bata ka, sinasabi sa'yo, bobo ka, bully ka, pasaway ka, pagdating mo sa school, ganun din ang tingin sa'yo ng teachers mo. Ang mga barkada mo, ganun din ang tingin sa'yo. Nung nag-high school ka, ganun pa rin. So, if we will use Cooley's point of view, well, the self would say, that, eto ako, mahina ako, bobo ako, pasaway ako, hindi ako magiging successful kasi yun ang sinasabi sa akin ng salamin. So that is the point of view of Charles Horton Cooley. So, going back to the concept of Cooley, pag muni-munihan po, what did you learn of Cooley's concept of looking glass self? Nag-agree ba kayo na may influence or ano ang tawag nito? Nag-agree ba kayo na yung salamin na nakikita kung itong sinasabi sa iyo, paniniwalaan mo? Kung mula pagkabata ang sabi sa iyo ay pangit, ito ay i-absorb mo at paniniwalaan mo kasi you base your concept of the self on the judgment of others. So, pag muni-munihan po, mahalaga ito lalo na sa pagpapalaki ng bata. That we have to be cautious and we have to be careful kung ano ang pinapakita natin sa isang batang lumalaki, kung mahalaga na mahalaga na maging careful sa pag-describe sa kanila habang sila ay lumalaki kasi kung gagamitin ang sabi ni Cooley, hindi makapagtataka na ang isang batang lumaki sa isang negatibong kapaligiran, magiging negatibo din ang tingin sa sarili. Kung siya naman ay nabigyan ng positibong environment, hindi makapagtataka na positibo ang kilos ng isang tao. Now, itong pangatlo, si Irving Goffman, this is interesting because according to Goffman, ang buhay ay parang teatro, stage, theater, or ang buhay ba ay parang pelikula, parang sine. Sa anong paraan? Sabi niya, the presentation of self in everyday life, according to him, like is never-ending play or theater in which people are actors. So we are all actors and we play certain roles. We play different roles according to the situation. So our socialization consists of learning how to play or act or our assigned roles. So as you are watching me now, most probably your role is a student. You are accessing this video because ang role mo ay estudyante ka. So, you have many roles. Estudyante ka, anak ka, kuya ka, kung may asawa ka, kung nagtatrabaho ka, empleyado ka. So, other people also interact with us according to the role they are playing. So, my role that I am playing today as I give you lecture is I am your teacher. That is my role. After this lecture, I have also other roles to play because according to Goffman, again, our life is like a theater. He pointed out that our social life is a performance in a theater where we, as actors, have the front stage, we also have the backstage. And then the self changes according to the audience. So, kita naman dyan sa image na may nasa front stage, may nasa backstage. So, according to Goffman, iba ang ating kilos kapag tayo ay nasa front stage, iba din ang ating kilos pag nasa backstage. Depende pa rin sa papel. Depende sa papel. O depende sa role na ginagampanan. So, according to Goffman, people engage in the front stage behavior when they know that others are watching. May audience nga kaya nga front stage. So, our behavior is different if you know that we are being watched, or if we know that we are being observed, or if we know that there are audience looking at us. Front stage behavior reflects internalized norms and expectation for behavior shaped partly by the setting. So, again, your behavior changes if this is a face-to-face class, for example. Iba ang kilos ninyo pagkahakap si ma'am. Iba rin ang kilos pag wala na si ma'am. So, kapag kahakap si ma'am, pag nasa classroom, halimbawa, andyan si ma'am, andyan ang mga klase, that is your front stage. Ang papel na ginagampanan, estudyante. Pag tapos na ang klase, wala na si ma'am, wala na ang ibang mga kaklase, iba rin ang kinikilos natin, that is already the backstage. Okay? How people participate in a front stage can be intentional. Pwedeng pinaghahandaan mo, pwedeng sinasadya mo, pwede rin siyang habitual or subconscious na kasi uh, in-internalize mo na ang role mo as a student. So, meron ka ng pattern of behavior na ako estudyante pagdating ko sa classroom, itong gagawin ko. Or ako estudyante pagdating ko sa virtual class, itong gagawin ko. Pwedeng pinaghahandaan yan, pwede rin na habitual mo na that in the online class, ito ang mga dapat, ito ang mga hindi dapat. So, ang mga dapat, that's the front stage. Itong gagawin ko kasi ito ang front ko. On the other hand, when people engage in backstage behavior, they are free of expectation and norms that dictate front stage behavior. Magkaiba. Kasi wala ka ng audience. O kung meron ka mang audience, yung ito na yung mga pamilyar sa'yo na hindi mo na kailangang maging best foot forward na. Kasi in this situation, you are now more relaxed and you are more comfortable in a backstage. Kasi kung sa pelikula, pa, pwedeng sabihin tapos na ang palabas. So, in private, people behave differently than if we are in public. So, kumbaga, if there are audience, if people, you know that you're being watched, that you're being observed, for example, and there are audience looking at you, like if you're already working, of course, your role is an employee. If your boss is around, that's the front stage. Pag tapos na, backstage na yun. Or pag nakauwi na rin sa bahay, that's already also part of the backstage. So, eto yung concept ni Goffman in understanding the self. That again, we have so many roles to play because our life or the world, ang buhay, ang mundo, ito ay isang malaking stage, malaking isang teatro na lahat tayo ay may ginagawang performances depending on the role that we are playing. So, I leave this question to you to think of your behavior, to think of yourself. Who are you in the front stage? Who are you in the backstage? Okay? So, I hope that you have learned something in this presentation about, again, understanding the self. And just remember that in sociology, the self is always a product of society. So, these are the references. And once again, thank you.